Alright, welcome back to Shrimp of the House Recall. This is part 3, page 17, and I think as promised in the last video, I'm recording here to kind of pick up the conversation I was kind of the thought I was in the middle of in the last video for page 16. And I was talking about characters that were mocked up to be used at some point and never were. I just had to go looking it up. I mentioned, I was mentioning Simon's Lament, and his neighbor was one of those characters. The idea is he was mocked up for potential use. I sort of didn't really have a solid space for him, so I kind of fit him into that story, into Simon's Lament. And it's sort of like a lot of the characters that have come up. That were never used, like a lot of the teen characters that were kind of designed to fit in potential stories with either Alex or Jackson, but were never used and ended up getting used in the background in the school scenes. But I had to go looking it up. Because I get curious. And the neighbor's name was Mr. Scott. In case you were wondering and you didn't feel like looking it up. Mr. Scott. The idea is, and while I think the brief story that went up, let me do this first. Let me think. So it's the background. Let's see, Control C on that one. So it's sort of, he was created as a single father with 2 kids. I think at the time they were mocked up, one was 14 and the other was 12. But they never got used. I actually don't even think the 14-year-old showed up in those background scenes. But, and it's not like I talk about all these characters that got mocked up. It's not like I really missed using them, or it's not like I'm still, it's not like I'm still looking for some place to put them in, because like a lot of these go to the early days where I'm using basically the one skin and just sort of trying to change the face and the look of the character to achieve a new quote-unquote character. So if any of them were to be used today, I'd probably just start over. They'd have to be. I'd end up reworking them with new skins, uh, sort of making some more complex changes to the face to make them look more different, open as layers. And it's like at that point, I might as well, if I'm looking for a new character, I might as well just start over with the character design. And while I've been sort of updating the characters in the Shrimp of the House series to some extent, it's kind of because this one's a little. The idea is I like the more cartoonish look with this series. Um, I can't say more, but like I think with this series, I like the cartoonish look it gets, and sort of characters that I guess having the characters look similar to each other kind of fits with it. Whereas it doesn't so much elsewhere. What are we doing? So invert, shrink, invert, edit, cut. Yeah, that's okay. I'm gonna hide Alex. Let's see. Let's just collapse all. Call it a day. I'm gonna hide Alex so I can get a good shot of him. But it's kind of like the earlier muscle growth stories sort of fit in that, where I'm working with limited skins and trying to achieve new characters by shaping the face. What do we want to do here? Oh, I know what I need. So, it's I wanted to do the Iron Brotherhood story. When I was working on that a year ago, I got it in my head that I really liked the idea and really wanted to work on it. And then I go digging out the characters, and I'm like, oh my god. It's like from a skill level I didn't really want to revisit. Um, that's what I'm talking. Not exactly, but that's what I'm talking about. it's supposed to be here. Let's see. What do I say here? The idea is I know what I want to say. It's like how to say it is. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's a good idea. Skill without going to college. Gonna make it seem like he's trying to weasel out of. Oh my god! And you don't have to go into a combat role. Okay, that squares up nicely. But then if it's like I end up doing that quite frequently, just in general. Is sometimes when I just need a break from everything, I'll just go play with character creation and see what I come up with. Sometimes I didn't want to do that, did I? Shoot. I'm going to say this is A because I need to make a change to this. Let me finish this. The idea is it's I end up just creating random characters just to kind of clear my head sometimes. It sort of helps, gives ideas, and every now and then I get a character that's interesting enough to save, and they go into some. I'm going to take the hair off and call this B. I'm going to do that. They become interesting enough to save, so I've got like folders with characters that get forgotten that I thought at one time would be interesting. We want to open. Let's minimize that. And I'm pretty sure you're not going to see this on the page. Oops. But for some reason, when I render in OpenGL, the hair will occasionally kick off these weird spikes that go across the scene. I don't know why. It's like OpenGL can't handle the transparency on the hair or something. Now we just wait for the other one. But then again, like that random character creation does often spawn ideas. Like sometimes the look of the character ends up telling me the story, rather than writing the story and creating the character to go with it. Sometimes it ends up being the other way around, that a character is interesting enough that it inspires the story that goes with them. And the Short Tales story, Roommates, was one of those where the two guys, the two main characters there, were a pair of characters that I just randomly created in a moment of fooling around, and it was just something interesting enough that like the whole idea for roommates was born from the characters. I'm trying to think. Even way back, Lil Bro was inspired by messing around, even though, and I've told this story before, way open layers, probably in a very early when I first started recording videos, but and actually no, oh no, yeah, it's I actually put pictures on my DeviantArt page as well, so you can see the pictures that inspired Lil Bro. Export as. But with Little Bro, I created the characters and started messing around with them. Okay, that didn't. Oh shoot! Cancel. What is going on? Okay, this is being a pain in the butt. I started messing around, and it just spawned the idea for that story. Let's close that. Um, I want to say, I can't. Top of my head, I can't remember if it's so or not, but I want to say Teddy Bear was another one. I want to say Ted was another character I was just messing around with, and the story came to me. And it's like the story came to me because of the character. But don't quote me on that. I don't 100% remember that, if that's true or not. It's sort of the problem with these folders of characters. It's like I said, it is sort of like the skill level goes up over time. Oh, I just saved it already, didn't I? As the skill level goes up, the characters become obsolete. Oftentimes becomes, if like I'm looking for a character, oftentimes it's just better starting from scratch than digging out from a folder of old character designs. And Lee, talk to Eric. I guess more. I kind of want to say something else, but I feel like this is a little more succinct. I think I'd rather go the succinct route. Ah, undo. And then there's then there are the characters that look interesting, but there's just something off that needs adjustment to make them perfect, and you just can't place it. You just can't place what it is, no matter what you try. There's just something that you feel needs fixing. When you can't figure out what that is. So I do have another pair sitting in a folder that I'd like to use in a similar kind of story to Roommates, but there's just something off about them. Okay, I guess that didn't. Oh my god. Open as layers. Layer scale. We're going 33. Actually, none. I think kind of. No, I need to layer to image size. Partly what I wanted to do with this sequence. Let's see, and I'm not sure why, but I did kind of want to break up David's appearance a little bit. Invert, edit, cut. I sort of wanted something in the interim between the time, to give it a little bit of a break between, David finding out his brother's showing up and his brother actually showing up. Alex. Actually, let's focus on the head. And I keep doing these down shots because, like, in my head, there's something more interesting about the shot if you're looking down slightly on the person than looking straight on. I don't know why. I guess I guess because the background with the furniture and all that is more interesting than the ceiling. But no, I want let's go. Let's see. Control C. Edit. Let's see. Hmm. Hmm. I know somebody. Somebody. Hmm. I know somebody who might be better to talk to. Ugh, I'm not gonna square this up how I want it to, right? Okay. And this will actually work with this plus two. I think the other purpose of this scene is if I'm having Danny pop over, this would be the perfect moment in the story for the two of them, for him to ask Danny about his service in the Marines. Try and get a feel if it's something he wants to do. That's what I want to do with Alex. Sort of from this stage on in his story is as he speculates alternatives to college, he's going to draw on the people he knows for advice or people he runs across. So going back to that whole like characters that was never used, we want to go open layers. Open layers. It was sort of way, way back when I was just starting out with the very first Shrimp of the House. I think I mentioned previously that I'd actually created the neighbors first. was sort of experimenting with them briefly. Excuse me, before I created this family and decided to do a comic graphic novel. It's been a few years, so I'm trying to. I think if I remember the thought process, and again, I could be wrong because it's been some time. I think the idea is I was messing around with with neighbors, Kyle and what's her name, Gwen, and I got it cut, and it struck me that I could do a comic. So it was one of those things. I set them aside, and think I think I created the Smith. Oh shoot, that didn't. I think I created the Smith family specifically. Let's see, I'm trying to think here, and I'm not really. Oh wait, what's going on? Select invert. Okay, something's off here. Edit. Maybe that's the step I'm forgetting to cut. Moron. I think I created this family and all their friends specifically for the comic. Save. I think we're going to get a reaction shot of David. But but it was like when I was messing around with before getting the idea to do Shrimp of the House, when I was messing around with Kyle, there was more to his family. Actually, let's just delete the key in the hand too. So it was sort of like I basically did with it was basically I did with his family what I had done with Kyle's, and there was the whole extended family and everything. Um, what am I looking for? Oh, okay. I thought I had a mouth open. Am I okay? Let's drop these. Okay, so I didn't change the number yet. 17. So I think so. The idea is when I was messing around, it was Kyle and Gwen and the two kids, and I think Kyle had a younger brother, with the backstory being that he was in college and staying with his older brother to save on the room and board. And I think I think there were characters mocked up for their parents and a third kid brother. And and when I did Shrimp of the House, I sort of decided to use them in the story after all, but I kind of scaled down the family, so it was so that it was just the core family of four, and the I and I say the college age brother was always intended to show up. The idea, and I know I've told this story too, that the only reason they were in Shrimp of the House was because I had planned to do a spin-off similar. It's sort of like with Simon's Lament. They were supposed to have a spin-off story, even though it was only supposed to be a very short piece, like maybe a one-part story, and it was supposed to just be along the lines of that sequence in the very first Shrimp of the House, where the whole thing was supposed to be he shrinks himself to play with the kids. Like I said, there wasn't a real story to go with it. It was supposed to just be like a one part goof off piece. And that was supposed to feature that was supposed to be where we meet his college age brother. And I think the idea was that he was supposed to shrink himself to play with the niece and nephew as well. It was supposed to be like a 2-on-2 kind of game sort of thing. But I just never really had the interest. It was like I had it in my mind, but I never really. It just like the idea just never grabbed me enough to actually do it. And I think like eventually you reach, it's sort of like it goes long enough where it doesn't get done, and you just kind of give up on it completely. Whoops. Select none. Now we select none. But I think I decided, like, when I kind of working on this piece, this, no, part two. What did I do? Sort of working on part two in this story. I kind of decided that I would use Gwen and Kyle, invert, shrink, and select none. I sort of decided that it would be perfect. Well, I'm trying to think here. I think the process was that I sort of imagined this story going over to their house for a few pages, and I'm not entirely sold on that, but I was thinking about it seriously enough that I decided to revamp the brother character. Like I said, I dug out the character, and it was, and like after so many years, I was kind of cringing at how bad the character was. Looking back at it now, so I decided to completely revamp it, and now he doesn't look like his brother at all. Let's take the book out of the hand, parent, and I think if I delete the keys, it'll go back to his room. Yep. Um, expand from selected. I mean, I like the character too much to alter it, but he looks a little older than Kyle instead of younger. He doesn't look college age anymore. So let's see, delete keys. I'm trying to think. Collapse all. I'm trying to think. I know what I want. What I want to do here is that's sort of the transition to parent. Actually, what am I doing? I can select them all and just batch this. Rows. If I hold Control, I can select multiple people, and then we right click and unparent them all. Just like that. Except I'm gonna have to wait. So I'm thinking, like as far as the backstory, I'm sort of thinking instead of it being his younger brother staying with him while he's going to college, I think it's going to be a cousin who's come to visit, spending a couple weeks with him. Clothes. I think. Um, you know what? I don't have his clothes, and I think I'm going to run into this problem with all four of these. Is sort of unlike David and family. So let's expand all from selected. I think unlike David and family, I don't think I have their clothing groups. Control D. So I am gonna have to find their clothing folders and load them. The problem is the scene file is already too big. So I really don't want to be saving, loading more stuff in. Okay. So it's going to take a little bit of time loading the clothes. I'm going to cut away and come back when I've got their clothing. Alright, so everybody's got clothing now. Let's see. Again, here's where I'm going to get lazy and reuse the poses from way back. Actually, let's focus on her. Actually, let's um, actually, the question I'm struggling with is who answers the door. No, you know what? It's not going to be Alex. Oops, I didn't want to put him in the clothing folder. Hmm. It kind of should be Alex, but Alex has been hiding. In his room, so it doesn't really make sense that he would come all the way out of his room just to answer the door when he doesn't know who's supposed to be coming over. We put Liz in here, so let's take Liz out. Oops. Kind of the idea is I've sort of got a house on the other side of the street for some sort of a backdrop when I do these scenes with the door open, but it never quite comes out right. So that's why you see me kind of fudging it and showcasing the scene as if they've already come in. And somebody's closed the door. You know what? Just for the sake of tightening this shot up, I'm going to move them a little bit. Tell me, okay. Wanted to make sure I've got the wide shot and not something smaller. And I know I said I was going to cheat and reuse the poses, but Control D, nope, he's already on the floor. But I think her foot is poking through the floor. Yep, so we'll just do that. Okay, I think that's it. So let's render that. And what I'm going to do is open as layer, because I use the text box so infrequently, I don't have it already open like I do with the word bubbles. And I've gotten out of the habit of copying these things and pasting them in every folder. So I've got to go to file folder for Shrimp of the House 10 to get this. I know somebody who might be better to talk to. Just happened. Just happened to be paying a visit. I think I can get this. Oh, shoot. Okay, no, this squares up. Although I'd rather. No. Okay. I'm going to split this manually. And then let's resize this box. Actually, trim it just a little. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to take the story over to Kyle's house. I'm kind of inclined to just keep finding excuses to bring everybody here. Because I would have to kind of completely decorate the house for one scene. I'm going to trim this layer crop to selection. Um, you probably don't remember, or maybe you do because it was such a weird thing. I'm going to say you probably don't. There was a moment where I think there was a scene. Come on, open the stupid thing. 34. There was a moment of conversation. I think when they first come over. I think I want to say it's the first time they meet the neighbors, but it's the first time they come over at least. And the couple is remarking on how everything looks the same. Yeah, the idea was that the idea was to sort of set up the that spin-off. The idea is at that point, sort of my model library was so limited. It was pretty much going to, it was like I was pretty much stuck to the same furniture. So I was trying to sort of get ahead of it, invert, shrink, and sort of explain away why it would look like the same, almost the same set. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to cut. I mean, it would be modified to look somewhat different, but there was a line about how they buy these cookie cutter. It was like it wasn't put like this, but basically they buy these cookie cutter houses that are pre-furnished. And I think they mentioned how the developer was lazy and just put the same furniture in all the houses. It was supposed to explain away why. Um, layer flatten. No, not layer. It's image. Why, when the spinoff came around, which it never did. And I've got to switch it to why it was using the same furniture. But at this point, like I'm not, at this point, I would want to decorate set deck to look completely different. Which means instead of modifying their layout, I'd have to, I'd have to spend the time to completely design a new interior. Even though I think the idea is that they're in the same model house as David. But anyway, not exactly, but yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's a good idea. You can learn a skill without going to college. You don't have to go into a combat role if you don't want. If you're thinking about it, you should definitely talk to Eric. He can tell you more. I know somebody who might be better to talk to. That somebody just happened to be paying a visit later that same day. That is page 17. I know it kind of continued off the conversation from page 16, and I'm kind of getting tired, so I'm sort of just drifting and wandering and just babbling here. But again, if you tuned in and stuck with it, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.